So I am 23 years old, I'm from Sweden, and I currently make over $40,000 per month by taking calls on my laptop and talking to strangers for a couple hours per day. I'm currently out here in Medellin, Colombia in South America. I used to be in Brazil for a couple of months, just came back from there recently, and I'm gonna be heading out to a new spot pretty soon and traveling a bit more. But anyways, this video is about what I actually do. How I got to this point where I do not run my own business. I don't do some crazy, like complicated AI stuff and that shit. And honestly, I used to be very stuck when it came to this whole thing of like making money online. So I want to share my story of like why I was struggling in the past when I was broke, stuck living with my parents back in Sweden back in the day and failing with so many different businesses. What actually worked for me, what I do right now, how I got into this, so that hopefully if you're someone who's young, driven, you want to take your own path, you'll be able to get some takeaways from this and help you on your own journey to see what's actually gonna get you success. Because the stuff I do right now is not the shiny AI shit, it's not like the AI agency stuff or some like crazy, hot, sexy business model. It's not some trading algorithm or some other stuff, like I focused on one very simple and very boring skill, to be honest, that's allowed me to literally get my absolute dream life. And to explain like how I actually got into this and like how I ended up in this position, I need to give you a bit of a backstory here, because how everything started for me when I was younger, I always knew from a young age I had this kind of voice inside of me telling me I wanted to do more in my life. I didn't want to go traditional path. I always knew, like growing up in Sweden around these very like average 9 to 5 people, I didn't see myself taking that path ever, First thing I did, like most other people, maybe like yourself, I fell into the trap heavily of trying to start different online businesses. I was stuck, like it was literally 2 years of my life where I knew I wanted to make money online. I wanted to make something happen. I remember I was like in school, in high school back in Sweden, and I just tried, I tried the agency, I tried like SMMAs, like running Facebook ads to businesses, I tried trading, I tried like all these little things, And I remember it's like over and over again, it's like being up late at night and like these different businesses, they were so fucking hard, like so complex. Because I was like 18, 19 years old trying to start a whole business and learn how to get clients and how to sign people up and how to do outreach and how to close people and how to do sales and how to run ads and like all these different things at the same time. Obviously it was hard, but I didn't get it at that time. So I was like stuck over and over again and like couldn't make something work. And then got to a point where eventually, like after all this time, like it's staying stuck. And I remember I was getting older. I was obviously like about to eventually graduate high school, and my parents were like, you have to like figure your shit out. I was living with my parents, and they were like, either you go into 9 to 5, you go into university, like you figure your shit out, And I was like, okay, what can I do to like figure this out? Because I had an agency at the time where I was working with a couple different niches, super overwhelming, I remember it's like sitting in my room like multiple hours per day, it's like cold calling these different businesses. And like, I signed someone up for like some performance-based deal, and then I would just lose clients. Like it was just super all over the place. I didn't know what I was doing. And I remember over and again, like I was in my parents' house looking at my bank account, like negative $20, negative $50. I couldn't even like afford gym memberships. I was going like out in the snow and like the cold winter in Sweden, and you're doing pull-ups in like some local like outdoor gym where I was like close to where I was living, and like that was the time where I had to figure something out, And I remember hopping on a call during that time to join like a mentorship program, to get into a program to start an agency or to grow my agency, to fix the stuff that I was struggling with in the agency. I hopped on that call and I talked to this guy who was like, he was the guy selling that mentorship, So he was like not the owner. He didn't own the actual mentorship program. He was just like the sales rep for the business. So I remember talking to him, and like he was working for this massive company that I've been following for a long time, like this pretty big influencer in the space who taught like how to grow an agency. So I booked in the call with him. I opened the call with him. I told him about my situation, and like I didn't realize at the time, but that was obviously like a sales call to join their coaching program. I thought it was just like a free value session, kind of, hopped on the call and talked to that guy and told him about like I'm stuck. I want to get out of my parents' house. I want to be able to make money with the agency. And he was like, bro, like why are you running an agency? You're a beginner, you have no actual like skills, you're just doing the agency to make money. Like why don't you just focus on getting good at one of the skills you actually like, that you actually have a passion for? And then he told me, I was like, what do you mean? Like what would that be? Like what could I do? Because I thought like the agency was like the end all be all. That was like the business model that's gonna make me rich and like make me millions of dollars and make me like ultra successful, which is kind of fun to think back at. But anyways, I asked him like, what do you do? Like, what are you talking about? Like, how can I actually learn and focus on one skill? And he's like, bro, like what I do is I take sales calls. just like I take 4 to 6 sales calls every single day, talk to guys like myself, people that want to grow their agency. Talk to those people, have a conversation for like 30, 45 minutes, run them through a specific sales process that he had learned from a mentor, and then just like closes the deal for this business owner. He doesn't run the business, he doesn't have to deliver results or coach these people and how to grow the agency, he doesn't have to do the marketing. Only thing he does is like take calls, they get booked in on his calendar. He decides I want to work from like 10 a.m. let's say until 4 p.m. Get calls booked in on his calendar, pre-qualified by an appointment setter. He just shows up to those meetings, take those calls with someone already like myself. They know the influencer, they want to buy, they have a problem. He just talks to them and closes the deal. And it's like, I didn't know that was a thing before that. I didn't know that like you could be a sales rep and like only do the sales part while still working online. And that guy, he literally told me he was making over $20,000. He made like 22 or 23K that exact month that I was talking to him. And like hearing this was like mind blowing. I was like, shit, so I can focus on one single skill that I actually like doing. I love taking sales calls and like closing deals. And I wanted to get better at that skill as well because I knew it was like a fundamental skill in business. I can do that and have the freedom, leave my parents' house, travel abroad. And I was like, boom, like that was kind of like mind blowing for me. It's like I got into that after some back trial and error, like some back and forth. I was like, should I do this? Because I had a bit of an ego. Should I just keep running my agency? And obviously, like you always have this kind of doubt when starting something new. Like you probably relate to this yourself. Like you always have these doubts, fears. Will this work? Is this real? Like when you're starting something new. Then the day I looked at my situation, I was like, I do not want to be here. Because it was getting towards the end of the summer in Sweden. And I was like, I do not want to spend another winter like in the cold in Sweden. Like I want to get out of my parents' house ASAP. So I was like, okay, if I want to get out ASAP, if I want to make a change, is this going to be worth the risk? And I looked at this like worst case scenario, I go all in on learning sales. Worst case scenario, I was going to be in a worse position by learning a skill and getting good at something like this. So I was like, fuck it, I'm going to do it. Invested in proper mentorship, learned from someone had already done the high ticket sales model, a guy that I knew from the agency program who was like a sales coach. I learned from him, invested into the program, and then I went all in on just that one skill. I just thought to myself, like, I already know where this came from, but I felt like this is the thing, like this is what I've been missing. I felt like it was such a like missing piece for me getting into sales. So anyway, I got into the industry where I learned sales, and then I started working for an influencer. That's the thing I've been doing now, which is called high ticket sales or sales for influencer, whatever you want to call it. There's a bunch of different names, but all of what it is just you learn how to sell, and then you work for an already successful influencer that sells like a course, mentorship program, and mastermind. Could be anything from like make money online. If you look at someone like Iman Gadzhi or like Charlie Morgan, you might know who that is. They sell like these courses on how to make money online. It can be a fitness coach. It can be someone like Tony Robbins, Alex Hormozi, like all these big influencers you probably follow online. They need sales reps. They don't take their sales calls themselves. So that's what I did. I learned sales, and then I found my first position with one of these influencers. It wasn't easy for sure. It isn't like all sunshine and rainbows. I definitely had to work hard, but focusing on one skill, like it was so freeing. It was so like it gave me so much peace of mind, because instead of having the agency where I was like sales, marketing, fulfillment, and like cold calling and figuring out ads and like so many different things, I was like, I'm doing one thing right now. In the beginning, when I was like starting this journey of doing sales, I was like, okay, every single day I knew if I get better at sales, if I improve a bit, if I do a bit more role playing, if I get coaching and get calls reviewed from my mentor, I get feedback from them, if I practice on my tonality, I'm getting myself closer to my goal of making 10K a month. It was so simple to just stick on the path, because all you need is one skill, like just learn that one skill of sales, getting good at closing, and then landing one client, one business to work for, one successful influencer. So that's really what I did at that point. I just locked in fully. And I was able to get into that fairly quickly and land my first role. Came into that offer, working with an influencer, was selling like an Airbnb coaching program, basically teaching people how to make money with Airbnb, a US-based company. I came into this company, started making my first 4K, 6K, and hit my first 10K in my third month of doing it. Again, I don't want to say that this is some like super easy thing. I definitely worked hard during that time. But the biggest thing for me was like I was putting all my attention into one single thing instead of building this massive company from scratch as a beginner. And then like from then, I just been sticking in this industry, and it's been going deeper and deeper on the skill, which has got me to a point now where I can ride all the kind of trends that come up, AI and like meme coins when that was a big thing, and like all these other things with like diets that come and go, looks maxing, whatever the trends are. I've been able to just like hop into offers in that industry and sell those type of offers and make money as a result of those industries growing. So it's almost like you can jump into trends and like get a piece of that pie by just knowing the most fundamental skill in business, which is sales. That's what I love about this, and that's what's really giving me this peace of mind now, where I can travel and really like ultimately obviously make a lot of money, but also have like this kind of security in income, because I've learned the most fundamental skill. It makes me valuable to any company. And that's a big thing I want to mention, because a lot of people make the mistake on their journey that I've been able to avoid, which is that they just jump, either they skip the entire like step of actually learning a skill. They think that if I just get into AI and I start like an AI agency, I'm gonna get rich. But if you focus instead on learning the fundamental skill that makes you valuable, skills, and becoming valuable to the marketplace, that makes you money. When you chase trends, like which is what most people do, you do not make money in the long term. You might make some money on like some meme coin that blows up or some AI thing you get right. But if you want to have consistent, reliable income and actually become like a successful person in the long term and have big long-term success, guess what? You need to have a strong base to your building. You need to have a strong like base to stand upon if you want to have a large amount of success. And that's what I've done by learning sales. So that's what I recommend to you as well. If you want to get to the similar kind of point where I'm going to right now, is focus on learning a fundamental skill and actually get good at something. If you do that, it doesn't have to be like that hard. It doesn't have to take that long. And if anything, I think learning sales and getting into already successful business is going to give you quicker success, because you work inside of a company that's already successful. You learn from someone who's already good at what they're doing. I've been able to work under 7-8 figure business people and be able to get mentored by them while working inside of their business. Guess like how much business experience that's given me while getting paid to be on their team, compared to you going out there on your own and having this massive ego and like starting from scratch, which is what most people do. So don't make that mistake. Don't have like ego hold you back. Realistically, most successful people, if you look at most like multimillionaires and like billionaires, they start off working for someone who's very good at what they did. They started working in a very good like startup, etc. Work closely with the founder, learn one specific skill, got connections, and then use that to have a massive success later on. That's what I've done. And that's what you can do as well. If you just humble yourself a bit, go into a successful business, you learn the skill of sales, become valuable for them, get mentored, get connections, and then boom, you can use all that down the road if you want to start your own business and see quick success. That was my journey. That's what I did, and that's how I got to this point now where I literally like have the life that I used to dream of back in the day. And I want to tell you, like, if I can do this, you can do this too. Like, I'm not special by any means. Like, I struggled a lot. I remember like so many sleepless nights back in the day where I was just like, can I make this work? Am I even meant to do entrepreneurship? And I was scared. I've been doubting myself multiple times. And if I can just leave you with one thing, is that the path to get to your goals, there's always gonna be doubt. You're always gonna be thinking about, should I do this? Is this too big of a risk? Maybe I should just like stick to 9 to 5. Let me just tell you that voice that you have inside of your head that you can do more, that is true. That is there for a reason. But you need to protect it, because there's so many people in your surrounding, like your friends, family, especially if you're growing up in like a smaller, more like a place like Sweden, like in a small town or like things like that. You will have people around you that will actively almost be killing that belief. Stick to that, stick to the path. And trust me, like you will never be in a worse position than you're in right now if you just take action on your goals. If you just try and you stick to it, you will always end up being in a better place than not doing anything at all. So I'll leave you with that. I hope this is valuable for you, and I hope this really resonates with you. If you want to work with me one-on-one to get into the business model of high-ticket sales, I have my own one-on-one coaching program where I help guys to get trained up on the skill, to land an actual good role with an influencer and start making your first $3,000 to $5,000 and even $10,000 per month plus in this industry. Again, it's not a get rich quick. If you're actually serious about this and you're committed to making it happen, you can book a call down below this video, chat with me, see if I can actually help you out one-on-one like I've done for a bunch of guys right now. And if you have any questions, shoot me a DM on Instagram as well. That's it for the video. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care. Ciao.